Let's now talk about most commonly used 3D modeling tools. So one of the tools that we're going to use really a lot is going to be the Extrude tool. So to access the Extrude, we're just going to use our generic cube one more time. And in order actually to access any of the tools, any of the modeling tools actually, we are going to need to convert every single object into a polygonal object because Cinema by default loads in a parametric object, which you cannot really access point, edge, or polygon mode. So you need to convert it to a polygonal object first. So you can simply click on this icon or simply hit hotkey C. This is going to be much faster. And once you're ready, you're going to be able to highlight any of the modes like this. So Extrude works both actually in points, edges, and polygon mode, but we are mostly going to use it for edges and polygons, so points really not as much. So let's start with polygons. So the only thing you need to do is right click, actually left click on any of the surface that you wish to extrude, and then go to right click, and then you're going to find extrude right here. So each of these operations have a hotkey assigned to them, so it's good to remember if you wish to work with hotkeys. So in this case, we were going to use hotkey D. So if you click on it, just by default, this is what Extrude does. And the moment we did something, you also notice that in this attribute manager, the offset bar moved as well. So by default, yeah, this is how Extrude works. And the only thing that we need to do is just extrude the faces, and there we are. So in most default form, this is how Extrude works, and this is in many situations how we're going to use it. There are some couple of options here that are still worth mentioning. So for example, let me just reset all the values. We are going to use sometimes subdivision. So subdivision simply means that once you extrude, you are going to get additional faces in the middle. So meaning that without subdivisions, you are just going to get two faces. With subdivisions, you are going to get one additional loop here in the middle, giving you three faces in total. So same thing goes if you wish to extrude in this area, you are going to get additional geometry there as well. So if you wish, you can just continue adding like so. And this is basically what that does. Sometimes it's very useful, but in many situations, again, we are going to work without subdivision. Now there's also one option here, preserve groups and create n-gons. Now n-gons, this is something in subdivision modeling that we are trying to use, actually trying to avoid anyway. So this is not something that we are going to use. Preserve groups means simply that if you wish to extrude multiple faces, let's say like this, simply, let me just do undo here because maybe something left open and I didn't do correct. Let me just preserve groups one more time. So basically this simply means that it will maintain the angle of the shape and try to extrude it as a uniform value. So more or less this is going to be a result. If this would be turned off, then basically each face will be extruded on its own. Same thing as we did before if we would do it like this. So this is simply what preserve group means, and this is something that we are definitely going to use quite a lot. Now create caps. This is also something that we're going to use often, and to demonstrate, let's just select these two faces. I'm going to hit V, go to select, and then invert, delete, and then we have only these two faces like so. And let's now go to selection, polygon selection, select both of them, hit D again for extrude, and now simply extrude the faces like this. And by default, you're probably going to have open edges here on the back. And if you don't want that, then you will simply use create caps option. And basically that is what it does. Simply closes any open holes that you're going to have during the extrusion. All right, so let's go a couple of steps back. And now we are in, let's say this mode. Let's go to edges. So what I'm going to do is now cover edges a bit. So basically now you notice that the moment you switch between these three modes, this will also change. So now when we edge mode, the edges become active and polygons become grayed out. So the same thing applies here. You can simply extrude the edge the same way you extruded the polygons. The only thing here is that it's going to extrude on a specific angle. What you can also do if you want to have more control, you can actually use Control key to extrude the edges in the direction where you would like. So this is also something very useful. Additional thing that we can do, so let's say use Control, extrude edge like this. You can now use, let's say, rotation. So for example, let's extrude this and using rotation. So you notice now the difference with Control, this rotation is not working. But if we use it with holding our left mouse button, we are now still able to control this rotation. Now, quantize rotation and angle. Let me just again reset the values and do a couple of steps back. This simply means if you now hold and extrude, you can hold Shift key, and while you hold Shift key, you will notice that it kind of snaps to this sort of 5-degree angle, the one that it's already defined. If, for example, this would be off, and we now do another extrusion and I hold Shift, you will see that now it will move without any restriction. So it will not snap to any angle. All right, let me reset that again and let's see what else. All right, so yeah, once you extrude, you can hold Shift. This will quantize it. And if you release Shift, you can still play with the offset. So that's also something maybe interesting to mention. And again, if you press Shift again, then you can quantize. I don't know. It can be useful. I'm not using it that much, but it's maybe worth mentioning. All right, so just to summarize it one more time. So we can now select 2 of these faces, hit D, we can extrude, we can now close caps. We can then, let's say, select this face, hold Control, extrude it here if you want to. We can use Scale if you wish to scale it a bit. We can use Move to move this maybe to the side. And if you wish, even we can rotate to give it more rotation. So this is, in general, how we're going to use Extrude. So same thing works here with Control. You can extrude like that, or if you wish, hit D, extrude like that, but maybe reset values first. Scale, we can use scaling. And there we go. So basically, yeah, it's not looking that great, but for the demonstration purposes, basically this is what Extrude does. All right, so this covers this video. So thank you very much for watching, and let's continue to the next one.